stupidity, only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true.
Good afternoon, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith and Holly Blades. How are you, Holly?
I'm really good, Steve. How are you?
I'm very good. Now, you haven't got a bad voice, have you, after last night's shenanigans? You were at the Sam Fender concert.
Yeah, Sam Fender was brilliant. Plenty of singing. Like a Newcastle match and a concert combined. What could be better?
Yeah, I saw all the coverage on social media. I didn't get either of the gigs, but it looked as if it was fantastic. And I mean, obviously, we know that Sam and the band are all Newcastle daft. It seems to have got up the Mackham's nose a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. He did mention that on the stage as well. Twitter's went a bit mad over the past few days, but you know, I'm not sure how much of a shock it is for people. A Newcastle lad playing in Newcastle, and he happens to have Newcastle flags at his gig. I don't think that's to be that unexpected, but apparently some people have taken offence to that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, anything that gets up the Mackham's nose, it's good for me anyway. So it's been quite funny watching that particular meltdown. Anyway, I'm back. Have I missed anything, Holly?
Oh, nothing worth mentioning.
Nothing worth mentioning. Okay, so the Newcastle Spurs game, which you travelled to, you don't really want to talk about it.
No, if I'm being honest, who does want to talk about that? Trying to forget it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was a game I missed. You know, the performance itself, was it as bad as the result?
Yeah, it was worse.
It was. Why?
Because you don't mind getting beat heavily, obviously, if the players are giving it their all and they're trying. But you knew from the offset that Spurs were by far the better team, and you could tell that straight away, and that was fair enough. But then we scored that goal. I didn't expect us to hold on to it, if I'm being honest. They obviously equalised pretty quickly, which was disappointing. And then once they scored that second goal early on in the second half, I think you knew it was going to, well, I certainly knew in my mind that it was going to go on to be beat probably, 3-4, 5-0. It just got ridiculous because you could just see the body language and kind of the feeling amongst the players. Their heads just dropped, and ultimately they just weren't trying at all, in my opinion.
I've seen a lot of things levelled at the substitutions. Do you think you got the substitutions wrong at the weekend?
Yeah, definitely. Again, that caused a bit of a stir online on social media. But for me, you know, when you're 4-1 down, bringing on a defender for a striker is totally pointless. I could understand if he did that at 1-1 or even 2-1. But at that point, realistically, what's the point? People saying, oh, damage limitation. Well, why not bring Dwight Gale on if people forgot he's existed? He was on the bench and he would have made a lot more difference than bringing on Lascelles, who, let's be honest, is a pretty poor defender at Newcastle, or he certainly has been this season, bar 1 or 2 games. And then we went on to concede another goal anyway. And when you're getting beat that heavily, I just think you may as well go for it. Obviously, we weren't going to get back into that game, but even if we just scored a goal, it was better than just kind of sitting back and going, oh, let's not try and get beat by 6-7-0. I just think it's such a bad mentality. It's a really negative substitution for me.
Was it not just a case of, you know, coming across a top 6 team, you know, Newcastle are a bottom 6 team, we shouldn't really forget that, and, you know, essentially, you know, we knew our place at the moment. We're not competing for Europe at this moment in time. We're still trying just to get that last couple of wins to get away from the relegation zone.
Oh, of course, and you've got to obviously keep that in mind and everything. And I knew that we weren't going to get anything from that game. Well, I didn't expect us to. Didn't expect us to get beat 5-1 though. But all I want to see is the players trying. And in that game, it really felt like we'd went back to old ways under Steve Bruce, because literally there was no effort from anyone. By the end of the game, I think probably the only player that stood out for me was Saint-Maximin, and again he took quite a bit of criticism, but I think he was the only one that was at least trying to do something, because most of them just sat back and were appalling. And the defence overall was horrendous, really, really bad. And even Dan Burn, who's been superb this season, I think that was one of the poorer games from him. He was still probably the better defender on the day, but across the board the defence struggled a lot.
Why did ASM stand out for you?
Just because he was doing something a little bit different. He was trying to get involved in the game. He was going on runs, causing an attacking threat, and he was causing problems for them. Didn't manage to obviously make anything of it because, again, he was isolated. people can't match his pace. He was pretty stuck with that and getting marked out of the game a lot, but he just tried his best and he was putting 100% effort in. I can't fault him for that. In the second half, I think he probably dropped off a little bit, but certainly in the first half, I thought he played very well.
Yeah, I mean, Harry Kane's position probably threw Newcastle a little bit as well. I mean, he played more of a creative role as opposed to a goal-scoring role at the weekend. Did that have a bit to play, do you think? Did the midfield get a little bit rattled as well just before half-time when we had that spate of bookings and Joe Linton decided he was going to replicate one of AJ's early fights by putting his man on the ground?
Yeah, I think it did play its part. Obviously, Spurs surprised us a little bit with the formation that they set out. But I think Eddie Howe, the initial game plan was to try and match what the system that they were playing and cancel them out that way. Didn't really work. And then in the second half, obviously, it just absolutely fell to pieces. But Spurs did well. And look, you can tell they've got a really good side and fair play to them. It's just disappointing for me the way that we handled that game. And I don't think we should have been beaten 5-1.
Got to ask you the question, what was the stadium like? Because it was something that we talked about at the start of the season, going down there. We've heard mixed reports. Some people say it's one of the best stadiums that they've ever been to. Other people say, well, it's not all that. What was your overall view of the Spurs ground?
Well, it was my second time at the Spurs stadium. So obviously I have been before and I wasn't a fan initially. Like, I was there the first time that Newcastle played there. And look, it is something a bit different. It's really like modern. It's got a lot of like things in it like that most stadiums don't have. But for me, it's not really like a football ground. Like, I much prefer the old school kind of traditional grounds, like your Goodison Parks, your Bramall Lane, stuff like that. But it's just very commercialized. I think it's more about kind of the touristy aspect rather than the football aspect. And again, it was pretty much similar today. You're quite close to the pitch. The away end's quite a good view from there, which is the only good thing. But for me, it's just far too touristic.
A lot of talk about fans protesting against Newcastle's ownership, and did you see any of that? Was there any of that going on?
Not to my knowledge, no. I didn't see or hear anything.
Any Newcastle songs which we've not heard on the road this season? Don't want to know about the Matt Ritchie song.
Yeah, that was getting sung. I'll just let you know that. I don't think there wasn't any new songs. To be honest, I think this is one of the flattest away ends I'd say since the takeover went through. I think it was probably the flattest away end since Wolves. It was very, very poor. I don't know why, but just from the offset, it was really, really quiet. I mean, we made some of our own songs on the way home on the train, but they weren't getting sung in the stadium.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things when you get beat 5-1, you don't expect the away end to be bouncing, to be perfectly honest. And I guess the only disappointment out of those three games, Holly, out of Chelsea, out of Everton, and out of Spurs, three tough away games which we knew before we set off on our travels. The biggest disappointment was probably Everton out of those three games.
Yeah, I have to agree because, Everton's a game where you would be looking to target to get something out of that game, obviously with the form they were in, still in a relegation battle. Obviously, they've just been beaten by Burnley, which has got them in even more trouble. But we went to that game, didn't particularly play well. And obviously, again, just like we did the week before, Chelsea led in a kind of last minute 1-0 kind of winner. It was just very disappointing the way we went on to lose that game. And I think that is the worst way to lose a game, when you're in it for so long and then you just lose by a cheap goal.
Yeah, definitely. The Everton game was a big disappointment, but playing two top six teams and coming away with nothing. Been used to that over the last 14 years. I think we're going to put up with it for one more season before we get our transfer budget into play in the summer. Okay, Alan, get your points across, folks, in the chat, please. Alan says, after last night's game, I think we need to get 2 wins ASAP. Do you think 2 more wins will keep us up? Of course, the game he's referring to is that rather topsy-turvy game again. Burnley 3, Everton 2. And yeah, I think the Scouse Mackems, as they're affectionately known to us, Everton are in a spot of bother, Holly.
Oh, definitely. I think people have seen it different ways. I thought it was a bad result for us. I would rather have seen Everton win. Not that I don't want Everton to go down, because I'd love to see them go down. But obviously, you'd like to keep Burnley in that bottom 3 just to keep the gap a little bit bigger for us. But look, obviously they went on to get beat. They're dragged well into it now. It's going to be difficult for them. They're going to have to pick up points. I think that puts the pressure on Newcastle as well, because it's becoming more competitive in the bottom half of the league. There's still about a 7-point gap. But obviously if we lose on Friday night, other teams start to win around us, then it's starting to get more and more worrying. So I think 2 or 3 wins would definitely do it to keep us safe, and I'm sure I will get those wins. But for me, there's got to be a response tomorrow night against Wolves. I don't think we can afford to go on and lose that game. I'd take a draw, but I just don't think we need another defeat.
3 home games now, back to back, which should see us get something. 2 wins, that's what Alan's asking. Do you think 2 wins will keep us, in the Premier League for next season?
Yeah, I think 2 wins would do it. I'd probably like 3 just for that extra little bit of security, but you'd probably think 5 points, a win and 2 draws would be enough.
Yeah, I would hope so as well. Alan also says that we're being linked with Calvert-Lewin. This was something that we brought up on the Supermatch show last night. If Everton were to go, or if Calvert-Lewin was to put a transfer request in, is that a kind of player you'd like to see at Newcastle?
I think I can imagine it'd be quite divisive. I think a lot of people will be split on that transfer. I'd probably go yes. I think that he could fit into the side quite well. We want players obviously with experience. I think because you can't take too many gambles like a Bruno signing when you bring them from foreign leagues, and obviously he's a good player, but it takes time for them to adjust. So I think someone with experience like Calvert-Lewin would be good to bring in, but I can imagine people will be 50-50 on that signing.
Yeah, for me, it's an improvement on not having a striker, full stop. But at the same time, I think we should be aiming a bit higher than that for me in the summer. Get your comments again. David says, I think we failed to beat Wolves in the previous 8 attempts. I'd probably be okay with a point tomorrow evening. Stop the lose and run, and a point closer to safety. Wolves are tricky to play against. David, I would agree. I think a point would be good. Jacob says, "What? A lot of people saying you're looking smart. What's the occasion?" It's the Alan Shearer event tonight. So I'm actually doing the Q&A with him because Liam unfortunately can't do it tonight. He's had to pull out. So from my perspective, I will be on stage with Alan doing the questions. But we're going along. Looking forward to the night at the Barracks. Burnley are not going to catch us now. He says we've got a 1-0 win tomorrow with a goal from Ryan. Don't panic. Very optimistic, Jacob. I hope you are right. Lots of people saying get well soon, Rachel. Well, she's tested negative for COVID, so that is good news. Well done, Rachel. You've finally got to the other side of it. We've got the whole summer to get players ready for the Premier League next season. You are right, trolls. And Darren says, I don't know why fans are worried about Burnley. It's just between the bottom 4 now. Watford have a lifeline if Burnley fail to take down Everton. So, lots of different opinions on that battle at the bottom. The Daily Mail this week basically put a story out, and there's no smoke without fire, of course, and ASM is regularly talked about on this show, good or bad. But the rumours that were circulating Tyneside after that article were that he was going to be allowed to leave for in excess of £50 million in the summer. What was your thoughts on hearing that news, Holly? Would you be happy?
ASM is someone for me that I'm really split on because I think it's a gamble either way. I think if he stays at the club, you're kind of taking that risk of will he just continue in the form that he has been recently, which is that he hasn't really done a great deal. But obviously you try to get that balance right, getting players alongside him that would really, really bring on his game, because I think he is playing in a poor side, to be fair to him. But if you don't get the right balance there, I think he's not going to hit the heights that we want him to hit at Newcastle. So then would you be like, oh, let him go? But then obviously you're running the risk of him going to another club and doing absolutely brilliantly, and you think, I wish that never happened. So it is a risk either way. Apparently today that Eddie Howe said he won't be leaving the club. I heard that. So obviously I'd imagine that, if Eddie Howe says that, then that will be the case. And I think at least another year, obviously, to kind of prove himself. But if he doesn't step up between now and the end of the season, I would be kind of having words with him if I was Eddie Howe, because I think he did play well on the Spurs game, obviously in a very poor side. But across probably 4 months, I think he's been below average for me.
No one would pay that for ASM. He's not worth it. Look at his stats, that what managers or buyers look at. Yeah, I mentioned that to Malcolm, and Malcolm mentioned that to me last night, that his stats aren't great. Doesn't score enough goals, doesn't create enough goals, ESM. Does a lot of running around, gets people out of their seat, but the end product isn't there at this moment in time. Trolls reckons that we should give ESM another season, and if he doesn't improve, then sell him, in my opinion. David says, expect a huge performance from ESM tomorrow evening at St James's Park. I really hope he stays with us long term. Frustrating at times, yes, but needs better players around him. More Brunos, please. And Gary says, good evening, Stephen Holly. I personally think that for ASM, he needs to get things off his chest that are bugging him. There is something on his mind. It's a bit deep, Gary, for this time in the day, but there is clearly, something that needs to be done with ASM. Whether that's something drilled into him from the coach, whether he needs to change his attitude, whether we need to bring in players, as Ryan said, to fit around him. Lots to consider, and there's something to consider it. That is the key. Andrew says, I think ASM is after an improved contract. He's got to be worth it. He isn't at the moment. Interesting. Andrew says, good luck with the Requiem, Steve, and thank you. And Holly, the shows with Pete doing this forum are excellent. I've been catching up on videos due to poor health and love the shows. Get well soon, Andrew. Darren says, hoping to see a huge team performance tomorrow, not just ASM after the shocking loss against Spurs. I think we have to realise, this is the point Holly was making, ASM was getting, dug out, I think, by a lot of supporters, but ultimately it wasn't just ASM who had a bad game at the weekend, it was everybody. So it is a team collective. Another thing to come out of the Spurs game of the weekend was a player that, of course, a former player that played for not only Newcastle but Spurs as well, and that's David Ginola. And he was working as a pundit at the weekend, and we saw the photographs of him meeting Amanda and Mirdad prior to the game. Then he was quite vocal after the game about which players he would keep, and it reminded me of an encounter I had with Supermac about 25 years ago on TV, where he said he would sell everybody in the summer, and we had the likes of Shearer and that there at the club, and I took him the hand on it live on TV, and we're made up since then, of course, but I just thought it was a ludicrous statement. What did he make of Ginola's at the weekend? Did you agree with him? Did you think his blueprint for the future of the club was a good one or a bad one?
I think his comments have been taken a little bit too literally. I don't think he probably meant to get rid of every single player. I think that was just kind of a rash comment that he made. And he probably means just get rid of the vast majority, the players that just sit in the reserves and never really get a game. The likes of your Dwight Gales and people like that. And would I disagree with him on that? No, because I think the core of the team that's been there for 5 or 6 years, they're getting on now. Their form has been, struggling the past couple of seasons. So yeah, I think, we do need kind of to build a new core of that team. But of course, there's some very good players in the team as well that you would keep a hold of. You wouldn't totally get a new team. But for me, I think you've got to remember as well where Ginola has come from, because he played for Newcastle when we were in our prime, challenging for the league, Champions League. And so he's got a lot higher ambitions than some of the players that's currently at the club, and that's just the way his mindset will be. So I don't think Ginola literally meant to get rid of every single player. I think it's just been taken too literally.
Yeah, as things often do in the media, and I think you're right. Ryan says, I'd give him a season, but it's all around attitude I don't like. Plus, he's soft, constantly crying. I'd replace him if possible. He does a lot of moaning and wailing and rolling around on the ground. Malcolm pointed that out last night. Jacob says, ASM is a very good player, yes, but he needs to pass more and not try to take on the world when he has the ball, and there are 5 players to pass to. Yeah, he doesn't release the ball quick enough, Holly, does he?
No, not often, and I don't know whether that's a lack of trust maybe in some of his teammates, or whether it's just the fact that he's quite selfish on the ball. He's not much of a team player. I think that's been clear to see for the past 3 seasons that he's been here. But yeah, there is faults with ASM, and I think the fact that he isn't a team player will be much to his detriment, because I think that's not the type of player that Eddie Howe will probably have envisioned in his future plans. I think he wants people that work well together, not as a single player.
He wants all the glory, but it is a team game, says Jacob, following on from what he said earlier. Remember, we have Wood as a striker, or rather pretending to be a striker. That doesn't help when it comes to cross the ball, in my opinion. Again, Chris Wood, we've disagreed on the whole Chris Wood situation. I mean, there's not much you can do if you're not getting the service.
No, there's not. And when we signed him, we knew he wasn't going to be a prolific goal scorer. He was, he's here to do a job. He does try, he puts in the effort, so you can't fault him too much. And I'm sure that when Callum Wilson comes back, that'll ease the pressure from Chris Wood, because you'd imagine those two would alternate. And then obviously next season, you'd like to think we've signed another or even a couple of other decent strikers.
Darren says ASM just needs to improve his team game and how to play a simple pass to create chances over trying to do much himself, which is reiterating what a few other people have said. David says, do you think the way that we crumbled against Spurs will see a reshuffle in the back four? Was our back four solely to blame, or did they have zero protection from the likes of Joe Linton and Shelvey? I can't comment on this. I watched Match of the Day's highlights. It just looked like a really comprehensive performance by Tottenham to me, and it really just looked as if in the second half Eddie Howe decided to go for them, and suffered greatly because there were you can't do that with Tottenham at their ground. They showed it with Man City. Man City tried exactly the same in their second half and came a cropper. So yeah, was it the back four? Was it or like you said right from the start, it was collectively a poor performance?
Yeah, it's got to be collectively a poor performance for me, because I think literally from the goalkeeper to the forwards, everyone struggled. So I don't think you could just blame it on the defence or the midfield.
Yeah, the back four, I mean, are you happy with the current back four at the moment? I don't think we're going to see much change in centre-halves. Dan Burn, yeah, I think, he's entitled to a bad game. Even against Chelsea and Everton, he played well. He wasn't, he wasn't solely to blame for those defeats. The Spurs game was just a collapse, you know what I mean? These things happen, but I would imagine Dan Burn target, but then who else would you like to see make up that back four, Holly?
Dan Burn, Target, and then it'd probably be Sean Manquillo for me. I'd probably just or Kraft. I do like Kraft as well. So that'd probably be the back four for me. And I'm happy with that back four, to be honest. Obviously, they've had the one bad performance, but before that, I think those four have done really well in games. You would like to see us strengthen, particularly in the wing backs, I think, and you probably need another centre half as well, because Dan Burn's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders. I think when Dan Burn has a bad game, I think that had a knock-on effect to the likes of Fabian Schär, because I think people really, really do rely on him as that kind of partnership. But yeah, I think we do need to strengthen, but certainly till the end of the season, that will be my back four.
Close says, as we are maximum 12 players team, we need better midfield and definitely need at least two strikers. Yeah, two strikers is something we got asked last night. Would you like to see two strikers come to Newcastle? I think I would, just for safety more than anything else.
Yeah, of course, because Chris Wood's a good person to have in the squad. I wouldn't want him starting games next season, and you can't really rely on Callum Wilson as a starter because he's very injury prone, although he is a good player. So you need someone probably to be your number one striker, and then I think you could get away with one striker, but it'd be good to have another person on the bench just for that added safety.
Gary, thank you for doing my job for us. He says, for new people who are watching the show, can you please like, share and chat and subscribe and give the show the thumbs up, with plenty of respect for other people out there for a fantastic, great show. Thank you very much, Gary. Ryan says, to be fair, when talking ASM, there's not many positives to take apart from his runs. Troll says, Wood doesn't hold up the ball, he doesn't get a position, and that's not good enough in my opinion. Ollie, though, says, Wood holds the ball up if you hit it at him, but apart from that, he's rubbish. Not many fans of Chris Wood on the show today, it has to be said. And from my perspective, I just think he was brought in to do a job, and he's doing his best to do it. But it's he's not going to be number one striker. I don't think come the new season. That is fairly obvious, I would say. Obviously, the big news coming out of St James's Park, other than injuries and defeats, etc., is that Kieran Trippier is on the mend, and he does like to use Instagram, Holly, and some rather encouraging photographs of him, on the treadmill and doing various things, and saying that he could be back very, very soon indeed.
Yeah, really great to see that. I think most fans will be happy about that. I'd love to see him get some more game time before the end of the season, because since he joined the club to when he got that injury, he was fantastic, and unfortunately his time was cut a little bit short because of that injury. So to see him finish off the season, I think would do a lot for his confidence as well, because you'd imagine he'd be a key player next year.
Yeah, I think he will be a key player. I think be a key player towards the end of the season if he's going to come back so quickly. But I do genuinely feel that he's probably pound for pound the best signing we made in that January transfer window. Bruno again as well. I think, just going back to the game at the weekend, he came up to, to give the fans some applause and almost apologise at the weekend.
Yeah, and we saw that apology on social media as well, and he was the only one that put something like that out, and fair play to him. I think he really, really appreciates the fans. Every interview he's done since he's joined the club, he's constantly speaking about the fans and how much he enjoys playing here. And then, of course, when we were in that game, when we conceded that, the fourth goal and the fifth goal during the game while it was still being played, he did give a round of applause to the fans, obviously, just for sticking by and supporting the team. And I think that's great, because a lot of players, I feel like, often don't understand how much effort it is, obviously, to travel all the way down to London, almost a 600-mile round trip. But Bruno does have a lot of appreciation for the fans, and that puts him in good stead.
Some words of advice from a rather strange source for Eddie Howe this week. Sam Allardyce, Big Sam. Not very welcome in these parts, it has to be said. But he was one of the pundits who came out again and gave his advice to Eddie Howe, and almost, having a bit of criticism, I would have said. I know Eddie Howe is somebody who plays with a straight back, and I think in his press conference with the Chronicle, he said he wasn't going to criticise Sam Allardyce's comments, and said that he's welcome to his opinion, which is all very fair and whatever. But he more or less saying that, they've got the flip-flops on, and he was trying to give some advice. What did he make about what Allardyce had to say?
I think it's just rubbish. You watch that Tottenham game and you'd probably be inclined to believe him, but that was just a one-off. Since he's arrived, even after a week of training, you saw the fitness improving. It was difficult for them at first, I think, to adapt to that, because obviously when you're going from training 1 to 3 times a week to every day, it does obviously take its toll. But I think gradually you've seen the fitness improve, the team morale improve. He's a brilliant manager, and I think that's plain for everyone to see. I'd imagine he gets along well with vast majority of the players. He is a good manager, so I think, you look at one game and you think maybe Sam Allardyce is correct, but across the whole period since October, it's just a load of rubbish.
Yeah, Rachel says, absolutely, 2 strikers should be a priority in the summer transfer window. Phil is asking a question about the Shearer memorabilia tonight. He says, do you know the balls in the 260 Shearer signed shirts? Are they being auctioned or sold at a set price? As I've had the chance to buy one and I bought the signed shirt. Yeah, they are being sold. If you go to the website, 260dinner.co.uk, you can pre-order them. But you can buy them tonight. But there is literally limited edition. They will all go, those. So, yeah, get yourself on the website. It's all explained on there. And if you go to the event tonight, Phil, then, of course, you'll be able to buy one tonight. But, I will be posting more about these once we get the night out of the way. Okay, it's time to give a shout out to our sponsors. And once again, thank you to Spider Miner. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, where's Spider VPN? Well, this is the reason. This is the reason that we've now gone over to Spider Miner. It is the same lads. It is still Nathan and Gareth. And big shout out to them for coming along and buying a table tonight as well. But this is their new business venture, and it is the only cryptocurrency miner that can mine 5 different cryptocurrencies at the same time whilst using virtually no energy, and it is VPN protected. So you can buy yours now at www.miner.spidervpn.org. Big thank you to the guys for their continuing support. Thanks to skipsandbins.com, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy, contact free and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks to LNG Family Funeral Directors, 01913897245, and a Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists, www.guhd.com. Thanks to Arcot Interiors. You can find them at the bottom of Heaton Road for all your kitchen necessities. Google Arcot Interiors. They come up at the top of the Google search list. And thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend in Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, NUFCmatters.com. Thanks also to ClearKine. Meet the new game over screen. Drop into a ClearRun device near you. You can find them on Apple Store, Google Play, and clearrun.game. Thanks also to Jab Signature, jabsignature.co.uk. And thanks to Media Arts for all the video help that they give us. You can also subscribe to the channel, which is very important to us. You can do that for free. All of our content is free. Hit the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner, and that's how you subscribe. Hit the thumb up under the video to like the video, which helps us with the algorithm, and that costs nothing too. Hit the share to share your social media like Facebook, Twitter, etc., and drop into the comments box to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans. You can also hear us on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. Usually goes up 24 hours after the show has been broadcast. If you want to become a member, it's a £25 one-off fee. You get a scarf, a pen, a membership card, and a cup. And just go to NUFCmatters.com and become a member. And you can put your phone over the QR code. That will take you straight to the membership pack link. Those of you who do subscribe, you can also get a free car sticker. Just go to the subscribe button, subscribe to the show, and then go to the website and register with John, and he will post you one out. Don't forget, Dog and Parrot. You can meet Malcolm tomorrow, 6 p.m. Free entry. There is a pool table, good beer, and good food. Malcolm will be doing a pre-match talking from 6 o'clock tomorrow night. The food bank will be outside the Gallagher end as usual, and much needed funds required as well via virtual donations. So if you can drop in any money to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk into the match day bucket, that would be greatly appreciated. And on Saturday, I will be with Holly, Malcolm, and Gibbo at the Marlborough Social Club at 12 o'clock. We will be probably on stage around about 12:30 for those of you who are coming. Don't forget, tickets are a tenner from newcastlelegends.com. But if you are already an NUFC Matters member, you just need to email John at the website and you can claim your free pair of tickets. So lots of people have done that already. Should be a good afternoon. We'll probably be finished around about the 2:30 mark. So it's not a long day. Start around about 12:30, finished about 2:30. There'll be a chance to win some raffles. And of course, we will be doing the talking on stage. So get yourself along. Don't forget as well, we'll be promoting the women's football team who will be playing Barnsley at St James's Park, Sunday the 1st of May. 2 o'clock kick-off, first game they'll ever played at St James's. Get yourself along. And the Three Amigos is only 1.5 hours tomorrow. We will be starting round about 5 to 3 and finished at 4:30. Steve Hasty will be joining me in the studio, and we will be linking up with Neil abroad because obviously Newcastle play Wolves tomorrow night. So we will be doing the show slightly earlier, but we will be doing it live. So hope you look forward to that. And if you like a bit of current affairs, last night was rather interesting. We talked about many subjects. Me, Lee, and it was Andrew Gain joined us last night on the News of the World show. We talked about everything from should you keep your farts in, which was an interesting topic of conversation for about 10 minutes. We also talked about how young should you be to have a mobile phone, after reports that 6-year-olds were having mobile phones and smartphones, etc., which we thought was a bang at the border. But tune in. We cover about 6 or 7 different events. We do that every Wednesday night, usually around about the 7 or 8 mark. And it just makes it a bit of a change from covering Newcastle United. So get yourself onto the News of the World programme. It is in the playlist below. Now, as everybody knows, we tend to do on this section something which makes us either smile and lick our lips, or it makes us grimace. So it's time for a Rate War Plate. Now, this one isn't really too severe, and I don't, just by putting it on the screen, I think you'll tell. Greg's sausage and bean pasty from Iceland, fries, mushy peas and gravy.
I've had that before.
I just don't even think that's worth putting it up.
Nah, that's just normal, isn't it?
Sorry,
normal in this region.
Sorry, Rocky Toon. It's great you took time writing it and putting it down, but it's not going to make us grimace. In fact, I would probably eat that.
Yeah, definitely.
Holly would eat it. So
I've had it before.
It's not a challenge. Rocky Toon. So thank you all the same for putting it in. Obviously, I'm trying to get myself sorted again after being away, so that was the first one I came to. But thank you for submitting it. I'm sure somebody will test us with a little bit more of a severe one for next week. Time's running out, though. Okay, Keith says 100,000 in 6 months for the NUFC food bank. He's referring that to Jamie Rubin. That was a great gesture, wasn't it, on behalf of the new owners?
Yeah, definitely.
Food bank raise.
100%, because like the food bank, obviously a lot of people rely on it in Newcastle. I think especially since the pandemic, people are struggling more than ever, so that'll help so many families in Newcastle.
Barry says he's watching us live at work. Great show. Enjoy tonight. Thank you. Newcastle are still in a relegation battle, says Paul. Make no mistake about that. We need a win on Friday. I can see Burnley winning at the weekend. Was there something collapsed there? What was that? Is that your dad?
No, my phone just fell onto a metal rack. It's fine.
Oh, great. Is it broken? Is it all right?
No, it's not broken.
Tom says, I think Everton will go down. I can't see them winning another game. Yeah, they just don't look like they've got any fight in them, do they?
Not at all. I think it's taken everyone by surprise. I thought they would manage to claw themselves out of the way, but they're going to massively struggle. And I think if they stay up, it could well be by the couple of points that we basically gifted them.
Gary says, if I can find a DVD or VHS videotape about Jackie Milburn, I'll forward that on to the charity for new owners to enjoy. That's very good of you, Gary. Paul says, need 2 centre-halves in the summer and 2 strikers and a central midfielder.
I'd agree. And a goalkeeper.
I think the world will go for a goalkeeper. Paqueta, again, that's a name that keeps getting mentioned. Trolls again. I'm not sure whether the club are even linked. That's the Brazilian guy who's friends with Bruno, isn't it? So I'm not 100% sure whether the club are really interested. I think that just could be a mischievous media story. Paul reckons at least 5 points out of the next 3 home games. It's going to be tough. I think a point against Wolves. On current performances, a point against Wolves will be good. I still think we will. I think we will beat Crystal Palace, and then I'm still undecided about Leicester. But let's see what happens with Wolves first. Let's see. Tom agrees with us. That's not odd at all. Chips rather than fries, though. He says with the pasty and the mushy peas, etc. Not out of the ordinary, that says Rachel. I mean, who would need it? You're right. Everything but the peas, says Vince. I hate the peas, says Vince. Vince, you having a conversation? Yeah, he's having a conversation with himself then. Mushy peas depend, mind. Chippy pub mushy peas all day. Tinned mushy peas, bleh. Steve thought Holly farted. She's a lady, man. It doesn't happen. Which is what Anne said last night. Tom, how many points do you think we need to stay up in the Premier League? I think I would go with a narrative of 2 wins, Holly.
Yeah, 2 wins would probably do it. I don't think it'll be very competitive this year.
No, and we're going to have a big say, aren't we? We're going to have a big say in who goes down and who wins the league and who qualifies for Europe with our remaining fixtures.
Yeah, we've got some quite difficult ones coming up. Obviously, the next 3 home games, you probably have to target them. After that, we've got Man City away, a couple of other hard games. You've got Norwich away coming up pretty soon, which you'd like to think we could win.
A lot of people are talking about the gold shorts as well. Now, this falls in line with some of the stuff that I've talked about in the past about white socks. We never used to do well in white socks, but do you believe in hoodoos like that, Holly? Do you think the gold shorts had anything to do with that bad performance?
As you know, Steve, I'm not a superstitious person, but it was bizarre that we were wearing gold shorts.
Yeah, Steve's been busy doing stationery for the 260 dinner tonight. Enjoy, yeah, it's very, very good stuff. Well done to Danny Mitchell and Change. Obviously, my mind's been focused on my mum, as everybody knows, for the last couple of months. He's had to really take the lead on this, but he's done a fantastic job, and I'm just looking forward to getting along and meeting meeting everybody there, and Alan's looking forward to it as well. It was good to catch up with Alan the other day and have a chat with him about Newcastle, and just get his opinions away from the camera, before the big event. It's interesting to see that our narrative on NUFC matters. A couple of weeks ago, obviously, I was having to do pre-recorded shows with regards to me being away for a week filming. And the stuff that I got a lot of people to do was like a 6-month review. It's interesting how to see the Chronicle are doing a 6-month review, as are Time Teas, where you've been today. You've been doing a bit of an interview with them today as well, Holly. How did that go?
Yeah, that went well. Just mainly focusing on not necessarily the whole season, but just kind of the owners and how they've kind of been in the past 6 months since they joined the club, and just speaking about the little things, the changes like Shira's bar, taking down the Sports Direct advertisement, stuff like that. But yeah, a lot of people are doing a 6-month review. I think it's a good idea, but yeah, it seems like we started it off.
Yeah, that's nothing wrong with being the leader. Tom Lynch says, I like the gold shorts and socks with black tops, but after Sunday, that combo can never ever be seen again. I would agree. Jody Tugalai says, 35 point definitely keeps us up. A lot more teams would like to be in our position. Yeah, that 9-game run was absolutely superb. It really did put us in a good place. Tom says, watch Benzema last night. He was brilliant against Chelsea. Yeah, he was. With the bits and bobs I saw. I think Alan Shearer called it before the game. Benzema was the player to watch, and Chelsea have looked poor in the last couple of games.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch the game obviously because I was at Santander last night, but yeah, I've heard good things on social media.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Wouldn't mind spending a few quid on him. Scott says, I think you lot are safe, to be honest. I'm a Man United fan, but I think the work on the stadium and next season you're going to be fighting for European places. I think, Scott, it's kind of you to say that. I think we're realistic. We had 14 years of misery under Ashley. We could have been a lot worse, of course. We could have been where Sunderland are, so we've got to be thankful for small mercies. But at the same time, I think, we would settle for not being involved in a relegation battle and having a good couple of cup runs next year. Just going into cup games, knowing that you're actually trying to win those games would be massively enjoyable for us, Scott. Being able to go and know that you're not going to be involved in a relegation battle would be great. Europe, great, great if we could, maybe even start to challenge European places in the next couple of years. I think there's just going to be a realism on behalf of Newcastle fans, and I think we're falsely accused of being unrealistic, Scott. And I think that's nice of you to say that, but we've all got our feet on the ground. We're not quite dusting the passports off yet, or we might joke to friends and family that we are. Steve, you are a trendsetter. Thank you, Vince. I think you're talking about the show, not the suit. Ryan says, thanks, Steve, the podcast. Yeah, look, we enjoy doing it, mate. We enjoy doing it. And it's nice to see that the stuff we do gets picked up by bigger networks and they choose their narrative off the back of ours. It's taken as a compliment. That's the way it should be. Darren says, I don't think the bottom four will change much. Everton have the worst fixture list. Burnley and Watford have got winnable games to stay in the Premier League compared to Everton. I think Leeds and Newcastle are 6 points. Yeah, I think it is very. This is what happens towards the end of the season, isn't it, Ollie? You tend to find that things start to open up, and we'll get towards that Easter period, and things start to become fairly obvious. And it's going to be between, I think, those teams at the bottom now. Watford are starting to play well. Played well at Liverpool by all accounts again. But you look at it now, and you're thinking it's between Norwich, Watford, Burnley, and Everton.
Definitely, because I think the teams that had that chance to start to pull away have already made their moves now. They've already started to build those points and they have pushed up the league. But the ones that haven't won, pretty much all year, that they're going to be definitely probably going down.
Paul Oxley says, I went to the club shop at the Metro Centre last week. Absolutely terrible. All it stocks is Castoria jumpers and the club shirt that every supporter has. The back page shop is far better than our club shop. Paul, I think it'll all change. I think we're just waiting, really, until things change, which probably will in the summer. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. There'll be major changes, but I don't think getting the club shop right was a priority when they first came in October. It was getting the first team right and staying in the Premier League before they start making those kind of changes. But I get your point. And yeah, the back page is great. They sell all the books that we put out over the years. Good relationship with Mick. So big shout out to the back page in the Metro Centre and in Newcastle. Vince says the shoot is nice, but I did mean the show. Cheers, Vince. Steve says, exactly, Steve, be nice to not be in a relegation fight next season, and a good cup run would be great. It's all we want, really. Be nice to get a trip to Wembley for a semi or a final or whatever again, but it's it's a long way off. That game of the weekend tells you how long we're going to have to wait, and depends on the transfer window. It really, really does. Rachel says we need Adidas back instead of Castoria. I'd love to see Adidas back. Probably one of my favourite strips of all time, that. Tom says, what's your thoughts on the club's agreed to change the rules related to substitute players from next season? Yeah, FIFA and the governing bodies never leave things alone, and it always seems to happen in and around World Cup time or European Championship time. They start messing around with the rules. They'll go and practice something somewhere, and then they'll make it they'll make it part of the game. And the substitute rules, I don't know. I think it's just going to be. I just think it's going to be crazy having that many substitutes.
Yeah, I do, because you're pretty much going to have half a different team by the end of the match if you make all your subs, which is just ridiculous. It's going to take so much time out of the game, and for teams that have big squads, that's going to give them an even bigger advantage over the smaller teams in the league.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see some games which could be completely, it could have been a different result if half the enjoyment, I guess, of only having 3 subs is that if somebody makes 2 substitutions and then a player, but makes 3 substitutions and a player gets injured, suddenly you're now, it can change the whole course of the game. If you've got 5 substitutes, 6 substitutes, or whatever they end up doing, then that's gone. Do you know what I mean? There's no chance of that game changing. It's I don't know. Something should be just left alone. I'm not really too keen on that. Darren says I'd be happy if we got rid of Castori, only due to the fact that the customer service that he's experienced at Castori is shocking. And losing my order in the post and then telling me to report it to the police didn't help. Again, it's an individual thing. That, Darren, we don't know whether that's the case or whatever. I'm not doubting you, mate, but it's I have heard lots of other people who haven't been happy, but you just got to just sometimes have to put things down to experience. It's sad to hear that. I'm sure that's been an issue with many other companies up and down the country, as well as Castori. It's not just an individual thing for Castori, that, but sorry to hear you've had that problem. Vince says, I'm just happy we can start looking up and not down, which I think, we all understand. Darren R follows up with, I did manage to get my money back from Castori after going to Trading Standards. Well, at least you got your money back, Darren. At least you didn't lose out. Vince says, yeah, especially with a quality bench like teams like Man City have. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've got 2 first teams. First team on the bench and the first team, on the pitch, and that is the problem with bringing in this idea of substitutes. More substitutes. You just look at it and think, well, it's an unfair advantage to teams like that. It really is. So, Newcastle, as we know, are playing Wolverhampton Wanderers, and that's a game at St James's Park. After having so many games away from home, it seems a lifetime since we all got together at St James's. It's an 8 o'clock kick-off tomorrow night. It's live on Sky Sports. St James's Park, well, it's sold out, no surprise there. And this will see us looking to end the run of 3 successive away losses. And we're hoping to win our 4th successive home game, something we haven't achieved since February 2019. Of course, our matches against Wolves haven't been very good at home or away over the last few years. So we're going to have to buck the trend to get the 3 points tomorrow. As I've already mentioned, we will be at the Dog and Parrot tomorrow at 6 o'clock with Supermac. And get yourself in there. 6 o'clock, it is free entry. Team news, well, neither Callum Wilson or Kieran Trippier are in contention for the return to the squad. Joe Willock is still doubtful after missing the defeat at Spurs due to illness, and Miggy Almiron may return to the squad. And Eddie Howe, of course, was speaking to the press today with regards to various ailments and COVID still surrounding the squad. Just check out the various media outlets for what he had to say. Wolves will be without the suspended Raul Jimenez, which is a bonus for us, Ruben Neves and Kijana Hoover. It's 14 games since they played out a draw in the Premier League, so a lot of people who are hoping for a draw might not see one. Referee is Peter Banks, which is his 2nd appearance for Newcastle United's games this season. The other one was the 4-0 loss at Leicester in December, which we had to put up with that rather annoying music every time they scored, Holly, if you remember rightly. And Banks has never refereed a Premier League game at St James's Park, so this is his debut. VAR, which is often switched off, is Gerard Gillett. So that is your team news. What would you like to see tomorrow, Holly? What would you like to see, and who would you like to start?
More than anything, I just want to see a collective improvement in the performance. Just trying hard. If we're going to get beat and they've put their all in, then fair play. I can deal with that. I just don't want to see another moment where if we concede, the heads drop, because it shouldn't be like that at all. We've lost so many points this season from positions where we've taken the lead, and it's just it's not really good enough. So I'd love to see that change, but I think we'll probably end up playing. You know what? I'd like to see a 4-4-2. I think I'd probably like to see a 4-4-2. I'd probably put Chris Wood and St Maximin up top. In the midfield, I'd probably keep the same. Although I would like to see Almiron go back into the side, because although He hasn't really caused much of a goal threat. I think that he just really, really does try, does a lot of running, puts a lot of effort in, and I think that's what we need. We need a high-intensity performance against Wolves because undoubtedly they're going to challenge us, of course. And prediction-wise, I think I'll probably go for a 1-1.
1-1. Okay, well, that's probably what I would go for as well, to be fair. And that's wishful thinking. I'd like to see them, to get a draw. Give us your answers in the chat. Paul's already got in. He says 1-1 to stop the rot. He's also said he touted Calvin Phillips a while back as a potential signing. What's your thoughts on him? For me, he partners Bruno next season. He signs as a quality player. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people talking about Calvin Phillips. Media's linked him as well. Is that kind of midfield player you'd like to see alongside Bruno?
Yeah, I would. I think he's quite a different style of obviously midfielder compared to Bruno, but I think that he's probably too good to be at Leeds, and I think in due course he'll be looking to move elsewhere. Obviously, he's an England international, and he will want that challenge and to step up a little bit. And I think Newcastle will be a very big challenge for him because we are not obviously at the top yet, but we're heading in the right direction, or at least you'd hope to think that we are. So yeah, I think Calvin Phillips would be a good player to add into the squad.
Troll says in a couple of years we will benefit from the 5 sub rule, in my opinion. Yeah, possibly. Bruno has to start tomorrow. Would you start Bruno?
Yeah, to be fair, I probably would start Bruno and I'd probably play him alongside Shelby, I think.
Okay, Paul says, Steve, when I think of Wolves, I always think of when they had Steve Bull. I was there. I remember them thumping us at St James's Park 4-1 and Steve Bull scored 4. Awesome striker, yeah. That was a game we thought we were going to win as well. That was horrendous. It was a horrendous performance. Who would you like to come up from the Championship next season? It looks like Fulham is coming up. I'd like to see Middlesbrough come up, but again, they lost to Fulham 1-0 last night. I don't think that's kiboshed their chances, but I think they'll be in the playoffs. I'd like to see Middlesbrough come up alongside Fulham.
Would I like to see Middlesbrough come up? I don't know. Probably not. No, I probably wouldn't want to see Middlesbrough come up. No, I don't want the Derby's back. They can just stay away, all of them.
So who would you like to see come up then?
I don't know. To be honest, I haven't even kept much of an eye on the top half of the Championship recently.
Hold on, I'm going to tell you who's there. Because I've got to be honest, I don't even know who's in what position in the Championship. So let's have a look. Championship, yeah, we'll go. Fulham are top. Mm-hmm. Bournemouth, Huddersfield, Luton, Nottingham Forest, Sheffield United, and Middlesbrough and Blackburn. That's your top 8.
Well, I'd love to see Sheffield United come back up. I love playing down at their place. And Huddersfield or Blackburn, I'd quite like to see come up as well. And obviously, you'd assume that Fulham are just naturally going to come up.
Well, Fulham will be up, but yeah. Either any of these away trips: Huddersfield, Forest, Sheffield United, Borough, or Blackburn.
Huddersfield and Sheffield United for me.
Yeah, I want Borough to come up. I've got a connection with the Borough back room as well, so I like to see Borough come up. 2-1 win to the tune, says Andrew. I'm looking forward to it. I think we win 2-0. Keith says, what do you get if you cross Holly with our new striker?
I don't know. I don't know if I want to know.
Hollywood.
Oh my god. That's like really bad.
It's a 11:30 joke at night, Keith, that one. Tom reckons a fancy a 2-1 win. Vince says, I hope Bruno plays more advances. He could create chances for us. Gary says, out of all the named players, who's named for Newcastle, who would you like to see come in Newcastle in the summer?
I think number 1, Sven Botman.
Okay, I would like to see Nottingham Forest back in place of Everton, says Darren. Very specific. Vince says, yeah, Borough get a Derby back. Definitely will not be West Brom. No, definitely not. Rachel says it would be good to see Huddersfield. They're my local team, and they'll get the banter back with my mates here. So there we go. Christmas cracker joke, that one. You're not wrong. The Hollywood joke. We really need to get behind every player that plays tomorrow. They need us, says Trolls. Yeah, and that's true. And it's going to be important to have the home support back, isn't it, Holly, after 3 away games?
Yeah, 100%. It's hard playing away. Obviously, they've always got the advantage, but now that we've got 3 home games off the trot, we need to make the most of that, because after that, we've got difficult games coming up, but it just gets harder and harder to gain those points towards the end of the season.
Yeah, and I haven't seen anything on social media. Have War Flags got something planned for tomorrow? I presume they must have.
I haven't seen anything, but yeah, you would think that they have. I mean, the flags at Sam Fender were brilliant, so...
Yeah, that Sam Fender concert seems to have really upset the Mackhams. Like, so as I said at the start of the show, that anything that does that makes us laugh. So the Shearer event tonight. Now this is quite strange for you, I guess, because you didn't really see Alan Shearer's career at St James's Park, but your dad has. So I can imagine your dad's quite excited.
Yeah, my dad is. Obviously, I am as well, because I think everyone loves Shearer in Newcastle. It's just a thing. Obviously, I watch a lot of old games back. Like, I think I've probably pretty much watched every game from like the 2 seasons where we challenged for the league, just on old videos and stuff. And he did play in my lifetime, but I was just a baby when like he retired, so that was a bit unfortunate for me. But yeah, he's a legend, Shearer. I think people will be looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. I mean, it's going to be quite a unique event as well. Somebody asking earlier as well, is it going to be on YouTube? No, not at the moment. We are going to record it for posterity, but for obvious reasons, we don't like to put these things out, these big shows out. We'll keep a hold of them. They may see the light of day one day, but for the time being, unfortunately, you have to be at the event to actually see this particular show. We recorded the one at the Time Theatre as well, and we may ask Alan at one point if he can put them out. It's pretty same with the Peter Beardsley one. These guys don't do many talkings, and they don't like to give away the show too much. Otherwise, people probably wouldn't go to the shows. And I know that's hard for people abroad. But if we get permission to do it, or if we can ask the question, then certainly we will put them out there. And I guess one of the questions people will want to ask tonight is whether Shearer has got any aims of coming back as an ambassador. I think that's the role that most people would see him in these days, Holly.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. I know there's been an ambassador linked. We've been linked with quite a few different players. Kevin Keegan was mentioned, but I think there's no one more perfect than Shearer. I've never thought it would really happen, because obviously with his contracts with like Match of the Day and stuff like that, but you never know, and it would be great to see that.
Yeah, I've had Keegan back. I did Keegan, Waddle Beardsley, and Terry Mack about just before lockdown. Paul, it was in September 2019. It was a cracking night, and I did one with Keegan that year at the Grand Hotel as well. I did 2 in a year, so it's other people put him on. Just keep an eye out. I'm sure he'll be back up in due course and doing the talking. But yeah, he does a PowerPoint though, Paul. He doesn't do Q&A. He doesn't answer questions from the fans. He has his own show, and he does the same show at each one. The one that I did with Keegan, Waddle, Beardsley, and Terry Mack was slightly different because he was on the stage with the guys and was happy to answer any questions I asked. But he gets very emotional still about how he left the club. I'm hoping that over time that will subside. Afternoon political bias. Hope you're well. So that really draws us to the end of the show. Holly's already given her prediction. Don't forget though, if you want to get yourself along on Saturday afternoon, myself, Holly, John, Gibson, and Supermac will be at the Marlborough Social Club this coming Saturday, 12 noon for a couple of hours. Tickets are a tenner from Newcastle Legends. But if you are a member, and that is a member of NUFC Matters, you can claim your pair of tickets for free. So simply go to the website if you aren't a member, nufcmatters.com. You'll get a pen, a cup, a membership card, and a scarf. And that's a one-off payment of £25. That more or less covers your 2 tickets. And you go into the monthly draw. So get yourself over to the website to buy your tickets today, and get yourself onto newcastlelegends.com to buy your tickets for the event. And we will see you on Saturday. And Holly, I will get you back on next week to hopefully talk about a win against Wolves. We will wait and see. But until then, I will see you at St James's Park in the next hour or so. Take care, Holly.
Take care. Bye.